Would you travel to Pakistan? Because I did, and ever since I went there, all that people do is ask, why on earth would you travel to Pakistan of all places? And I totally get why people ask this. Pakistan is not a country that is typically seen as a tourist destination. A lot of people tend to think that it is very dangerous or that there is nothing to see there. And let's be honest, the country doesn't have a great reputation and it doesn't have very good marketing. So I thought it'd be very interesting to share what leads tourists like myself to travel to countries like Pakistan that have very bad reputations, and also answer a question which I've been getting a lot lately, which is if I plan to travel to Pakistan again. So this is definitely going to be a bit more of a personal video and not my usual travel content, but anyways, if you're new to this channel, hi, my name is Laura and I've been traveling all over the world for the past few years. So on this channel, I usually share travel vlogs, hidden gems, and travel information content. So make sure you subscribe if you want more of that. As a kid, I loved to travel and I would spend hours every day dreaming of all of the places that I would go to and of the destinations that were at the top of my bucket list. And Pakistan was never amongst those countries. Pakistan is not a country that I dreamed of traveling to when I was a kid or a teenager, honestly. And it's never a country that I thought I would ever go to. To be honest, I had a pretty negative view of Pakistan as a child and when I was a teenager, which I think is very common for a lot of people in my country. So I live in Spain. And I also think it's very common for a lot of people my age. So I was born in the year 2000, so I don't remember things such as 9/11, but I do remember a lot of the aftermath of it and how the mainstream media portrayed Pakistan and the Middle East in general in the years following 9/11. I do remember a certain event that happened in 2011 in Abbottabad. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. And I remember things such as the Arab Spring, the start of the war in Syria, the start of the war in Libya, and how the news basically talked about all of that and how they portrayed the Middle East and countries such as Pakistan and Afghanistan as being basically just deserts, having nothing to see, and as being extremely dangerous countries. And because everyone around me thought those things and said those things, that's what I believed. I can imagine the thought of traveling to Pakistan at this time never even crossed my mind. Because why would you ever want to travel to a country where there's nothing to see, it's basically just a desert, and you could be unalived if you ever went there? But obviously things changed. So the first time that I thought of Pakistan as a tourism destination was when I was 16 or 17 years old. And at this time, I followed a very popular travel YouTuber called Fun for Louis. Louis did a world flight where he basically took a tiny airplane and he flew it all around the world, just him and his buddy. And one of the places where they landed was Karachi in Pakistan. So I had been following his entire journey. And when he landed in Karachi, I was very curious to see what that would be like. And I was very surprised by what he showed in his video because it was not at all what I expected. Karachi seemed like a pretty bustling, chaotic city. But other than that, pretty normal. It didn't feel dangerous. There was one specific part of the video where he went to a really nice rooftop restaurant in Karachi. And I thought, oh, wow, that's actually really nice. Not at all what the media portrayed, right? So I think that's the first time that I thought of Pakistan as a country that might be worth traveling to and that could be very interesting and potentially even beautiful. After that, Fun for Louis continued with his world flight. I continued following his journey and all of the destinations that he went to. And I didn't really think much more of Pakistan. I kind of forgot about it, to be honest. Until a few years later, I came across a YouTuber which you've probably heard of. Her name is Ava Zubek, and she did a lot of videos about Pakistan. And I think she was honestly the first YouTuber to cover Pakistan in depth and to really promote Pakistan as a tourism destination. It was only after I watched Ava's videos that I started thinking that, Pakistan was not just a desert. There was actually a lot of different types of landscapes in Pakistan. And that it is a very beautiful country and that there are lots of things to see and experience in Pakistan. So she really, really changed my perspective on the country and she really sparked that curiosity for me. And after watching her videos is when I started having an interest in traveling to Pakistan. I honestly think that Ava did a great job in portraying the country because she is the first YouTuber that I know of that really took her time researching the country and traveling to different places and really showing the diversity and the beauty of Pakistan, because after her, there's been a lot of YouTubers, including myself, by the way, that have gone to Pakistan and have made content on it. But she was really the pioneer, the first one to do all of this, in my opinion. Pakistan has gained a little bit more popularity on social media, and I really don't think that any of that would have happened without her work. Anyways, this was way back in 2018, so although Ava had convinced me that Pakistan was indeed a very beautiful country and that it was not just a desert, she still hadn't completely convinced me that it was safe, because even though she said it was safe, everyone else around me was saying that it was not. And I was also 18 at this time, I was not a very experienced traveler, and I just didn't feel ready to go to Pakistan. I didn't have the money for it and I didn't have the experience for it, so it would still be a while before I actually made up my mind to go there. But in the meantime, I did go on a trip which changed my life, and that was Kenya. So this was way before I ever started filming for YouTube, so I will show you some photos of my trip to Kenya, but I don't really have any video of that trip. But this trip to Kenya changed my life. And I could go on and on talking about Kenya, but I think, that is not what this video is about. But I did learn a very important lesson in Kenya that eventually led me to Pakistan, and is that I shouldn't judge a country until I have seen it for myself. Kenya is similar to Pakistan in the sense that a lot of people think that it's very dangerous to travel to African countries because a lot of conflicts get reported on mainstream media, so a lot of people think that they're very dangerous countries for that reason, and also for things such as malaria and diseases and things like that. So I definitely got a lot of people telling me that traveling to Kenya was incredibly dangerous, but at the same time, Kenya had a bit more of a tourism infrastructure, and it wasn't such an off-the-beaten-path destination as Pakistan. So I did decide to travel there. It was also one of my dream destinations as a child, I will say. My two dream destinations when I was a kid were Kenya and Australia. I've still never been to Australia, but I did manage Kenya at that time. And what I saw in Kenya was radically different from what mainstream media had told me about the country. And I truly didn't expect it to be that different. So I left Kenya with an insatiable curiosity and desire to continue exploring, and particularly to continue exploring other African countries. So after Kenya in 2018, I did Zambia and Zimbabwe. Then in 2019, I went to Zambia and Zimbabwe again, and I also went to Botswana. I didn't travel internationally at all in 2020 and 2021 because of the pandemic, but afterwards in 2022, I went to South Africa and Morocco, which Morocco was my first solo trip. And then in 2023, I went to Tanzania, and in 2024, right before Pakistan, I went to Tanzania again. And during all of this, Pakistan was in the back of my mind, but I was so focused in Africa that I really didn't think of traveling there. And also traveling to Pakistan is far more expensive for me than traveling around Europe or the African continent. So I just kept it in the back of my mind because I couldn't really afford it, and I was focused on other things. And I learned my lesson to not judge a country until you have actually been there. And I was actually really annoyed at some people I knew, some friends, some family, who still didn't believe me when I told them that, African countries are safe and worth going to, and that nothing's going to happen to you if you go there. I was really annoyed that these stereotypes persisted and that people wouldn't believe me when I told them that these things weren't true. And that's actually one of the main reasons why I started posting travel content on social media. So obviously there's other reasons why I post as well. So I monetized all of my social media accounts, so that allowed me to travel even more. And I also didn't have a lot of people at home that I could talk about travel with. So this was also a great place to find other people who liked the same things that I did. But still, one of the main reasons and the main motivator for me to start posting at first was to share my perspective on the countries that I traveled to and my point of view, and share an alternative point of view that was not often shown on mainstream media. And it was through social media that I would eventually get the opportunity to travel to Pakistan. So just to be clear, me and my travel buddy who went with me to Pakistan, we paid for our trip ourselves. This was not a gifted trip, it was not a PR trip, but the company that we eventually went with reached out to me on social media, and they wouldn't have reached out had it not been for my content and my following over there. So eventually I figured out that, I had become a very experienced traveler through traveling around Africa, which, even though I wouldn't say that the African countries that I went to were super difficult tourism destinations, but they're also not super easy, so that prepared me well to travel to a country like Pakistan. And prices were also a lot lower than when I started looking into traveling into the country. And at this point, I still had a lot of curiosity about Pakistan. I was still very, very intrigued, and I'd also become very intrigued with other aspects of Pakistan besides just its natural beauty. I was also very intrigued about its history and its culture. So at this point, I had watched the mainstream media version of Pakistan. I'd also watched all of Ava Zubek's videos, but I still hadn't experienced the country for myself, and I don't judge a country until I have been there. So basically, the reasons why I traveled to Pakistan were curiosity, knowing that I don't have to judge a country until I go there, and social media. I was influenced by social media, and truly, the effect that social media has on travel cannot be understated. I make so many of my travel decisions based on things that I have seen on social media, from the destinations that I travel to, the hotels that I book, the tours that I go on. Like, truly, social media has revolutionized the travel space, and in some ways, it has been a very good thing. So I'm not going to talk much about my trip to Pakistan in this video because I've been vlogging the entire journey. So if you want to know how my trip to Pakistan actually went and all the culture shock that I had while I was there, you can watch all of my previous vlogs that I posted about it. But I ended up going to Islamabad, Fairy Meadows, Hunza, Skardu, Naltar Valley, Dewsai National Park, and also Lahore. So I focused my trip on northern Pakistan and specifically Gilgit-Baltistan. And when I returned from my trip, I decided it was very important for me to post about Pakistan. And besides the obvious reason, which is that I earn an income from posting travel content on the internet, besides that, which is obviously very important, I really wanted to post about Pakistan because I wanted to pay it forward. So I had been influenced to travel to Pakistan by Ava Zubek, and I hope that I can influence someone to travel to Pakistan because it truly is such a wonderful country and it truly is worth visiting. And also to fulfill the initial mission that I had when I started posting travel content on social media, and the original reasons why I did that, which is that I was tired of hearing stereotypes about the countries that I traveled to, which I think were completely undeserved and really unfair. So I decided that posting was super important for me here on YouTube, but also on my Instagram and my TikTok, which are the 3 platforms that I post travel content in. So, with all this said, will I be traveling to Pakistan again? Sadly, probably not soon, because the reality is that as much as I loved Pakistan, and I really, really did, I'm still pretty focused on traveling around African countries, and I really want to go back to Africa. And also, traveling to Pakistan, even though it wasn't as expensive when I went as it was when I started looking into traveling to Pakistan, it was still pretty expensive. Particularly, the flights to go to Pakistan were incredibly pricey, and that is very, very difficult for me to afford. So it is not likely that I will go back soon unless my financial situation changes drastically. And it could. It could. YouTube is very unpredictable. If I do very, very well on YouTube, I might be able to go back sooner than I think. But it's definitely, it's possible, but not likely, if you know what I mean. If I go back, I would definitely like to explore more of Pakistan's cities because I went to Lahore. I spent 2 days there. I really recommend that you watch my vlog about Lahore, by the way. It's a really good one. But I really liked Lahore, and I would like to explore more of Pakistan's cultural heritage. So I would like to go to Karachi. I would like to see some of its historical sites. But there's also a few places that I missed in Gilgit-Baltistan and KPK, so I might look into going to those places as well. As for what's next for this channel and for my travel plans, so I still have a few videos about Pakistan that I want to post, so you still have a few weeks worth of Pakistan content, which I'm sure that you'll enjoy. And I also have a few videos that I want to post about Tanzania. So I will post all of that. They're not travel vlogs, they're a mix of kind of personal videos like this one, but also informational videos if you want to travel to the same places that I did. I also plan on posting a few vlogs about my country, Spain, and after all of that, I will be traveling back to East Africa. So I'll be going there in early 2025, so you won't see those vlogs for a while, but that's kind of the plans as of right now. I really don't have that much, I don't plan that far in advance, so after, who knows what will happen after the first few months of 2025, but if you stay, I guess you'll find out and we'll figure it out together. So anyways, thanks for watching until the end. Like I said at the beginning of this video, this is definitely not my usual type of content, but I thought that some people might be interested in hearing why people choose to travel to Pakistan, and if you're a regular viewer, I thought that you might be interested in hearing a little bit more about my story and my travel history, my travel plans. So if you enjoyed the video, make sure you like, you comment, and I will see you in the next one.